for taking it up the gears. Nice.
Oh! What a right hand from Terence Crawford! Blood on his back! He knocked him out! The King is still on top of his game!
Sharman may have switched his pivot foot.
Whoa! Put back hammer! Kaluma's now over 20 points.
Saunders, good shot fake, good pass, good rejection by King.
Numbers.
Can they take advantage? King all alone. Buckle up. 10-0 run for the Jays. Oh, almost another turnover. It is.
Don't need a three in this possession. Get downhill.
One timeout left. Riesel looking for help. Tominaga. Tie game. 9 seconds to go. Smith has it. Initiates the offense. Braden Smith on the take. Corner three Laird. No good. Overtime in Lincoln.
This team, I talked a lot about them, just how I think our fan base can rally behind them. I can't thank our fans enough for the atmosphere that they had in that building today. And, you know, it's an easy team to rally behind and get behind because of how hard they play every time they step on the floor.
Monday morning here on Hail Varsity Radio. Coffee and cream in the morning. Alongside Damon Benning. What? Looks like we just had a little episode of The Twilight Zone there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Where you come in on a Monday morning and like the studio, the set looks a little different. Apparently there's a party. And so they're, you know, we don't fix cameras. We don't worry about equipment. It's just a free-for-all,
Hey,
man.
I'll tell you what. It sounds like we are in 50-mile-an-hour winds right now. Is that what it sounds like for you through your headset, or is that just me?
Well, that's just you.
That's just me?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it sounds like you're blowing into my mic right now.
I don't. There's a 99.999% chance that will never happen.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
So you're leaving the door open, though, for that 0.01 or 0.0001%.
Maybe I'm strong-armed at gunpoint. People are threatening my kids if otherwise, but yeah, probably not happening.
We are with you this Monday morning after a great day of sports on Saturday. May not have been the outcomes you've been looking for or you were looking for, but Saturday night ended in a bang over at CHI. 6 rounds and a TKO for your guy, Bud Crawford.
This ain't nothing but another Bud TKO. Yeah, that was it was fantastic, man. I have such an appreciation for him, and full disclosure, I'm biased, right? Like that's my guy, but he's just so good, and I think because he's the state of Nebraska's, I don't think we appreciate him in terms of what he's doing on the world scale. Just one of a handful of guys with as many division titles as he has. He has grown since 130. He has become the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he's literally from right down the street. Pulled up to the gym on Thursday. Trucks in there, not a consummate parking job. I won't say what time it was, just because sometimes he likes to have a little privacy. Trucks parked in there diagonal. It's his gym.
It's safe to say he grew up in Omaha. Yeah, his car is parked diagonal.
Wait, what do you have against Omaha drivers, man?
Oh, man. Omaha drivers. Where do I begin?
Here we go. No, I'm with you on that one, though. But just such a tactician. And, you know, there was a little rust early. I thought D.A. did a pretty good job of kind of staying in his chest, but just didn't give Bud enough angles, right? I just don't. It's an age-old adage. This isn't. I'm not pulling a Mick here from Rocky, or the great late great Emmanuel Stewart. You just can't follow a puncher, and Da kept staying in the pocket, and he was square, following Bud, and at some point that was just going to be a recipe for disaster. And I really liked his patience, but Terence is never.
That's a great way to put it.
He's never in a hurry. But he's very deliberate, too, and he just kept going to work at the body. And he's the master of throwing like 4, 5, 6-inch punches. They don't look like much because they're not long and loopy. They're short and crisp, and he got an impressive knockout.
I love how quickly he can adjust on the fly,
that's
too.
his thing.
That's one of his biggest strengths. I mean, just the ability to adjust his playbook to his opponent. And that's something that is not normally credited in matches like this and even in sports, right? You know, you talk about just somebody that can just change on the fly, his ability to switch stances. He went from the unorthodox position to that southpaw stance, and then that's where he really got those body blows in. And he just started working him. Started working Evan Eason all the way through. And then he finally just started tiring him out little by little. And then once he settled into the fight,
those body blows, I think, were taking his life.
yes, well, and
right? It's like,
and once he settled into the fight, you could tell the crowd was getting into it more, and he was feeding off of the energy. At least that's what I could gauge from my TV.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it's absolutely one of those deals where just baby steps, slowly but surely, just kept whining and wearing, and he's so explosive. Like, you guys have a very similar. What do you weigh? 165?
I'm basically Bud Crawford, is what you're telling me?
He walks around. He could walk around anywhere from, 64 to 74, 75. But doesn't ever really like to cut. So as a 147-pounder, he can stay closer to the 160 range and be just fine. But he is so explosive for a guy that size because he has long arms and he uses them like levers. His ability to sit down on punches with leverage is nothing short of fantastic. But you guys do have a very similar frame. Long arms.
I may not be as quick.
Well, yeah, there's a good chance. There's a good chance you're probably right about that. There's an absolutely 100% chance you're good about.
I put on that tool that you strap to your head, and you know how the ball kind of hangs from it, and you're like supposed to punch the ball. I probably got smacked in the face.
So somebody left that in
time.
here the other day. And you're like, have you ever done that? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to really embarrass myself.
Well, and you're supposed to start slow, and I guess the idea is to punch toward the ground.
Yeah.
My reflexes aren't great
down.
to begin with. Yep, exactly. I can do the what is the
speed bag?
The speed bag. Yeah, I can do that. But this little toy, I got hit in the face one too many times. And if I did that, if you put me in the ring with Bud Crawford, I'd get hit in the face one time.
You know what?
Stay down.
You know what's really underappreciated about him, and not everybody's like this. And just ask probably 70% of the boxers out there. Terence was blessed with good genetics and genes where his face.
Oh, no wonder you said we relate to one another.
His face doesn't show damage. He just has that it.
He drank from the fountain of youth, and every time he gets
I'm
hit.
serious. It's like some guys, you breathe on them and they balloon up, right? It's like you touch them and their skin mouses up, or you got to kill the inswell. He's just one of those guys that doesn't show a ton of wear and tear, and it's a total God gift. It's like it's nothing you can really, for every Paulie Malignaggi or who's a puffer. There's a lot of those. Antonio Margarito, some of these guys where you just breathe on them and it's like they swell. He's just not one of those guys. And Savior, don't crack jokes, okay? Because I know that was on your lips. But he just.
I was going to let you finish.
He just doesn't show any wear and tear. I mean, after the fight, he's not even breathing heavy. But his fitness, though, is top notch.
Reminds me a little bit of Mayweather. Yeah. Somebody that desires to go the distance. That's what he trains for. And that's what I wanted to ask you was, did you expect a TKO?
No. So, right before the fight, my man Denny was at the arena with my guy Mike Matlock and his son, and he sent me this picture, and he was asking me my predictions. And so I put it out on Twitter. I said it will be a 6th round knockout, maybe.
Stop it.
It's
no way.
It's in Twitter. Yeah,
I'm not going to fact check you.
I said it will be a 6th round knockout unless he's saved by the bell, and in that case, early 7th. That dead dog serious.
Did you lay any money?
No. Oh, I should have.
Not on your guy?
Could you? I don't know. Like, do you have to be like in? I didn't look at like FanDuel, and I wasn't in Iowa, so I didn't. But do you have to like? You can get exact, right, for stoppages, I'm sure.
In fights, you can.
Yeah.
I do it in UFC all the time.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
Patty Daddy made me some money this weekend too.
It seemed like it was dwarfed, but maybe that was in just what I like because Teofimo Lopez was fighting earlier that night, and then you had Crawford later. It seemed like Patty the Batty was a little overrated, even though he is a bad boy. He is not right upstairs. But anytime you fight like that in the UFC.
I mean, you start with his haircut.
Man. See, that's the guy that you walk up to and you say something slick, and then about 4 seconds later after you
wake up in the hospital.
You're like, you see, what had happened was.
You thought I was tough, this jump will kill you.
I could have sworn.
Exactly.
I could have sworn I made fun of this math kid.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you got sleepy.
What happened? Speaking of sleepy, too, that was DA, too.
Yeah.
Just in a lullaby.
So I think his body hurt. So it's just really
weird. It's like
weird.
a cartoon. You could see all of the toys spinning above his head.
I tell people that, sometimes they'll say, oh, I want to go to the gym with you or whatever. And I was like, I mean, maybe. But I'm just telling you, the things that hit you in the head, they may do more long-term damage, but it doesn't hurt more. Body shots hurt, and they shut you down. Like, you just feel like things have left your body. I'd much rather, this sounds crazy, I'd much rather get hit in the face than either the ribs, the kidney, or
the gut.
Heaven forbid, the liver. Right? Like, those shots that he was hitting DA with in the body, like with each one of them, I could just be like, yep, quarter of a soul, eighth of a soul, there's half his soul. Like, he was literally snatching.
Well, then all it takes is one hit to the head for you.
Yeah, and it was just and it was short, just bang, bang, and it was just like, I didn't even see it because if his back was to you, I mean, you're literally only talking about 6 inches, and he can turn it over with both hands. So it's just like, he hit my guy with a triple uppercut, which you may never, I won't say you won't see it again, but you just don't see stuff like that. He's so skilled. It's unbelievable.
I thought you were going to say I can't count that high.
Well, you can get to 3, right? I tell our little guys that I coach, because we run the same defense. I won't say the same, a similar defense for
You run the 3-3-5?
For Micah's little team as we do for Westside. Some variations, and people that we play against like the way that we play defense, and they think it's complicated. I'm like, it's not complicated. I'm like, if you can count to 4, you can play on our defense. And I tell the kids that, so it kind of empowers them.
1.
Yep. If you can count 2, a fourth, if somehow you get a 4th receiver to your side, doesn't happen often. I mean, the Matt Hoskinsons, the Junior Storms of the world may get you with a 4th receiver, but it almost never happens. If you can count to 4, you can play on our D.
Earlier on that afternoon, I was out, and of course it's that time of year, Christmas shopping.
Oh man, you're a better man than me.
And I was out with my lady.
Significantly better man than me.
At the mall.
Triply better man than me.
And for one, we started with Omaha drivers. Holy cow, is it a madhouse?
It's busy, man. And
I never thought the mall would be as busy as it is
with online
today,
shopping.
With online shopping. Because, people are talking about how malls are a dying industry, and, there's a bunch of stores that are closed, and I'm sure it was much busier 20 years ago.
Someplace else.
And
no big deal.
I was driving right down the stretch of road.
My posse's on Broadway.
In the parking lot. And there were at least 3 cars parked over the line. And so it was kind of driving me crazy. But I was inside the mall just doing some shopping, and I had the Nebraska game pulled up on my phone, and I was walking around with that, which, was kind of a give and take thing, right?
Yeah.
She was happy I was there. I was happy I was watching the game.
I was right dab smack in front of my television.
I'm a little more jealous.
Loving every minute of it. And I don't typically basketball happens so fast and it's too stressful to hit send real time. But I don't typically live tweet basketball, even though I feel like, I don't know everything, but I feel like I have a decent command of what's going on. But there were a couple of sequences in that Nebraska game where I just I almost wanted to stand up in my living room, and there's no one home except
you and the dogs.
I think I maybe had one of the kiddos there. But anyway, it's pretty much an empty house, right? I almost wanted to stand up and cheer. There were a couple of defensive series where Nebraska was trying to get back into the game, and it was dumped down to Edey, and they pawed at him from the weak side. He got rid of the double. He wanted to skip it. Then there was a sweet scramble by Bandamel, and they did one more, and Wilcher closes out, and then all of a sudden the ball's on the ground, and Griesel gets down and gets it. It's a tie-up. It's Nebraska ball, and I'm just thinking that series.
The hustle play. I remember that right at the top of the perimeter.
It was unbelievable. And the way that they were – and I know Purdue – and people are probably like, Edey, man, get it out of the double. He made the right skip. Lawyer had another one. He had to skip it again. Then they closed out on the three. Then they panicked with the ball handling. And I'm like, you got to put that on a – that's like Flipomansky, right, in terms of basketball, where you got to get that out on cut-ups. They played so hard.
Nebraska?
Oh, man.
Their game plan
that was a top offensive team they played against.
Their game plan was executed to the fullest, and it was something that we kind of had an inkling would happen because they were doing such a good job lately of double teaming and taking away the paint.
And where it comes from. Sometimes it's from the weak side. Sometimes it's from almost the baseline. Like sometimes when they're playing with those bigs and through the posts, you don't know where the double's coming from.
And Zach Edey looked more like the big friendly giant out there, not the 7'4"
Although when he had 8
man.
and 8 at the half, you're thinking, oh, here he goes again.
Right.
Zach who?
But
that's Zach Edey.
The aggressive big man we're used to seeing, the guy that single-handedly out-rebounded the Golden Gophers the game before, he was kind of a non-factor in this game in a way. Now, that being said, because he's 7'4", can you imagine having 7 blocks in a game? Because that's what Zach Edey had.
Yeah, and you got to go at him. He's going to get those. But, man, you kind of have to give some credit to Nebraska's basketball coaching staff, especially since Coach Hoiberg has had to turn so much of his staff over. And, with Adam Howard and Nate. And it's just like, can they be mucky? Can they be defensive? And that's a good defensive basketball team, especially concepts-wise. Like, they need to get a ton of credit in terms of their scout, man. They're ready to go.
I was going to say Purdue did not impress me in this game.
That's one of the top offenses in the country.
I would go one step further and say it's because Nebraska really impressed me.
Absolutely.
And when you're down 10 at half to the number 4 team in the nation, which got to 13, I think, at one point in the second half, it's hard to rally against a team of Purdue's caliber. And credit to this group for finding a way for forcing overtime, but they had so many chances to get that lead with under a minute to go. That first lead. I think they had, 4 offensive possessions at one point under the minute mark, and it was just no shot could end up falling. But how about your favorite Husker, man? Keisei Tominaga.
Oh, Keisei.
That's your guy.
Well,
he went off for 19.
So we know this, though, right? Like, for some reason, he's super polarizing. Like, oh, he can't play. And then I was like, oh, yeah, he can play. I was looking at some of these threads online about Tominaga, and I'm like, you guys got to understand something. What you're debating is exactly who he is. He is streaky. When he's going, he's capable of 2 of the last 3 games that we've seen him had. When he's not, he's on the other side of the argument where people tell you that he shouldn't be playing. So it's
I'll tell you this though.
The hand wringing and the consternation. He's exactly why I think people debate him.
When he's showboating, and I know you're not a very big showboater, like somebody that gets.
My man did sprint down to the other end of the court. He
Yeah,
was like,
you know what? He overreacts maybe a little bit after a three, which is great. I love it. DB, not so much.
He's having fun.
But I'll tell you, man, it's because he shoots with so much confidence. It's contagious off of his personality. And when he gets on the floor, he's not afraid to chuck a ball up in the hands of one or two Boilermakers in front of him. Now, a lot of times you're off balance when you do that because you're moving a million miles an hour, and if you're falling to the right and you're not squaring yourself up, more often than not, you're not going to adjust mid-air to have the ball travel at the trajectory that you want it to go. Yeah. But he did find a way to do that in this game. And when Nebraska needed somebody to step up, it was him. It was the guy off the bench that did it.
How about how they ran the little set piece for the mid-range jump shot coming off the little curl screen, and he ended up getting fouled. And it was funny to hear Bardo. He's like, I probably wouldn't have ran that play for Kisei. You know, but I just was like, and it's hard because you're watching Nebraska play, and it's like, at what point did you think that if they could have just gotten the lead, was it 69-68? Was it in over? But you just felt like, okay, if they could just get the lead, especially when they got it to overtime. But man, I'm not an officiating guy, but wouldn't you have liked to have seen? And I almost took it back on Twitter because like I said, I'm not an officiating guy, but I was like, wow, he lost that ball before
I know exactly where you're headed.
And that's a loose ball turnover. Like, we're going the other way. Something good may happen. Do you know what I mean?
They were just whistle happy. As a former official, I know how much pressure is on your shoulders in that moment from a team that is in the top 5 against an unranked opponent. Now, if this game was at Purdue, I think that call gets made 9 times out of 10. When this game's in Lincoln, it's 1 out of 10.
Not a good call,
and it just happened to get called here. Now, I will say, though, I can't speak enough at how well the atmosphere was in Lincoln for this game. I mean, we talk a lot about how Piscataway is a tough, hard place to play in. This game seemed a little bit like the same. The crowd was engaged from the start. And good on Nebraska to keep the game close right out of the gate. I know it separated to double digits by halftime, but because of their energy, Nebraska never left this game. Sam Griesel, obviously a little bit rusty coming back from his illness.
He left it out there, didn't he? You could tell he was laboring just from a endurance standpoint. Man, he plays hard.
He just never really got comfortable in his game.
No.
We only saw him do his back in the defender, maybe a little hook in the paint 1 or 2 times.
That was key basket, though. I just don't think he had the juice, man, but I'm glad he was out there. I mean, well, again, I'm a big Sam fan, so
we'll continue with some games from the weekend. We'll kick it off once again at the 7:30 mark with Creighton. But our poll question of the day, what upset you this weekend, DB? You led to it. Was it Nebraska men's basketball officiating? Was it Creighton men's basketball and soccer losses? Your favorite NFL team? Or all of the above? Vote on Twitter. We'll get into more next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, Shane Schillerberg here. If you want to get involved in the show, give us a call, 888-638-4876. We promised Creighton. We'll get into that first and foremost, and they dropped another one. 83-80 was the loss to BYU, and also to a coach that was born in Omaha. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Pope, yeah. They talked about, yeah, that was.
Was that an overused storyline?
No, just twice. They
Beat
got
the
in,
dead horse?
They got in, got out. Not like, only being in camp 2 days, not understanding the play verbiage. I've seen lots of other things that were driven home to the point of, I almost have to turn you down.
Do you know how long he was here in town? Because
no,
I don't.
No.
I just know that he throughout high school was not in Omaha.
Yeah.
He was out in Washington. So I didn't know if he was just born here and then 2 years later they picked up and moved that way, or if he was actually somebody that grew up in Omaha. I don't know. Somebody else let me know if you know.
Yeah, on Twitter at Andrew Rogers TV or at Damon Benning, or you can hit us up at 888-638. Is it 4788?
4876. You'll get it.
4876.
You'll get
8675.
No, don't do that now, because
hey, Shane,
you're gonna get all confused.
Oh, come on, Shane.
Come on, Shane. Good morning.
There he is.
Hey, Kalkbrenner out in this game, and that was a huge loss. And we were.
It shouldn't do that to that team like that, though.
Well, we chatted a little bit about that, but it was obvious because he's known for his ability to take away the paint. Yeah. And BYU took advantage. They altered their game plan to eat inside. They had 42 points in the paint, DB.
Yeah, they were getting – so many of those were on, like, hustles, scrambles, second chance point. What were their second chance points? Their offense, it seemed like they got every loose ball. And if
you lose a guy that's 7 foot in the middle.
Stop it. This team is deep enough to not have that happen.
But taking away him and his shot blocking ability, we're talking like this. Kalkbrenner could be potential Big East player of the year.
I love Creighton, but if you don't stop with the excuse making, do you understand what other teams have played for?
I didn't make an excuse. I was saying that was the piece that was missing.
Well, they got to be able to overcome that. It's BYU. You're supposed to be one of the deepest teams in the country, and you're right. Without any on-the-ball pressure or getting up underneath guards, they were letting guys turn the corner. And when you're used to playing like that and funnel it to the big guy so he can clean the rim, like you have to adjust. I just watched Nebraska be competitive on the road without their best ball handler, and nobody said a thing.
We did.
Nobody was like, oh, man, you know what? They didn't, no Greasel. It's like they lost. So now without Kalkbrenner, it's like it's the end of the world, and we know it. You have to be able to overcome that, especially on a neutral site. You're good enough. You have
against BYU, you have to be able to overcome that. Hey, if you're playing a team that's in the top 25 and you're missing Kalkbrenner, different story.
Are you an analytics guy?
I'd like to dive deep into that.
Do you? So does it seem like to you that Creighton's defensive efficiency is better than Nebraska's? Because it is. Now, we'll see the updates here, but –
in the last 3 games,
99 versus 102, defensive efficiency. The more you know, huh?
Yeah,
it doesn't
look like that.
It doesn't seem like it, right? That's why sometimes it's not stats in a vacuum, but they're important. It's like plus minus in hockey, right?
Do you think plus minus matters?
Not so, like 15 years ago. Yes.
You don't think so? Still today?
It's not as big of a deal to me today.
A lot of I think former players at the NHL level would agree with you.
It's kind of an old school, antiquated deal, and I know.
I still think it matters.
No, I'm probably not gonna die on that hill. It's just not near as important as it used to be.
I just think hockey being a team game, that stat is all team oriented, and that's actually the hill that I die on with plus minus. Could you get rid of the stat? Of course you could.
I understand, but you know what's not gonna. It's not going to help you out in games like this. Trey Alexander's got to be better than 3 of 12, right? Sharman's got to be better than 3 of 11. Because when you lose a game like this where you make that run late, like it can't just be about Kalkbrenner defensively.
Kaluma.
You got to shoot the ball better, and you have to get some easier shots. Some of the degree of difficulty that the Jays take with their offensive possessions, I think,
early on they looked fine.
Are extremely unnecessary. No, and I agree. They did. It was pretty smooth. And they had, I think, 18 of their 23 makes came on assists, something like that, 18 of 23 maybe. But too many shots like off the dribble and not off a pass. And I'm thinking, give yourself a chance to be a little bit more efficient offensively, because they were 23 of 60 from the field. It has to be. You have to make it a little easier on yourself than that.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I agree 100%.
Don't let me talk you into it.
No. You're not talking me into anything. I still think you have Kalkbrenner in this game. You win.
Yeah, well.
But it wasn't that way. And you only can, look at what we saw. And
the beautiful
you put it well. I mean, you
the
have to
beautiful
shoot
thing
the ball
about
better.
Sports is you've got to play the hand that you're dealt.
Well, you have to shoot the ball better. And something I've noticed with this Creighton team in recent games is
if only Casey Thompson would have played. I mean, you just can't say that.
Well, you could.
if only Adrian Martinez was healthy. You know what I mean? It's like
basketball is a game where you can say that.
So here's the deal, though. And we probably better get this out of the way going forward. So saying things like that are a lot like saying to me, you don't have anything to lose. Right? Like just my personality, that is not going to vibe. Figure it out. Figure it out. Okay? Shoot the ball better.
Yep. They just take a lot of time to get some life late in games. I mean, you force 4 turnovers in the last 2 minutes, and you think, this is it.
Listen,
this is it. They're getting their drive. They're going.
At the 3-minute mark, you had no idea what BYU was doing.
No. But also, you're down 10 points.
Like, what was that?
You're up 10 points. You have nothing to lose when you're up 10 points.
See? That's why we can't have nice things.
Hey, let's go to the phone lines. We'll go to line 1 first. We have Brian with us. Brian, your thoughts on the Jays and even a little Dak Prescott?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, man.
You happy to sneak out of there with a win versus the Texans? Good on you. Good job, Mike.
Yes, I am.
Mike Brian McCarthy.
And let me do this right. I forgot to, say hello to Damon Benning and wouldn't you like to be my neighbor, Mr. Rogers?
Yes. You're in my neighborhood now, Brian.
Where's the sweater, man? Where's the sweater?
Yeah, I think what Creighton, I think what they're missing most is there's a man that's playing, I believe, in Sacramento that played from last year that transferred out of Duke and that Northwest Missouri State grad. They could play some defense.
Yeah, it just kind of settles them down a little bit.
The people they bring off the bench nowadays, like the shooters, they don't. What's the transfer from TCU? Oh my God, he gets abused every game. I see him in.
I kind of like Farabello's offensive game, but he does have to guard. He does have to guard.
He can't guard.
That's why he wasn't in the final 2 minutes.
I know. I get it.
I did not want to play the Texans yesterday because we never perform against them. I think since they're 8-7 versus us, including the preseason, since they got into the league, since they came in. So
it's a Texas thing, man. But I think in the NFL though, you got to be able to win games like that, and you did. Right? This isn't about Vegas. It's about.
Do you kick the field goal? If you're Lovey, do you kick that field goal?
Probably.
I think so.
But it's hindsight. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't even beat Hundley as a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh. So what am I talking about? At least his team won.
Yeah, well, and he forced him to go 98 yards.
Stop. Baker Mayfield could do it.
He has to do something about those interceptions. Yesterday, I should have told Jared Goff yesterday instead of him.
Hey, are you paying attention to that offense? Like the Lions' offense, we hate on Goff, but have we paid any attention to the Lions' offense? They move that thing.
Against the Vikings.
They've been killing them, and that guy that was played receiver for him that was a prospect for Nebraska for a little bit. Was it Ramon? St. Ramon?
Oh, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, yes. I should know because he's a Trojan.
Man, that is
B, always good to talk to you. Tim, stay right there.
Hey, we'll be back right after this short break. Coffee and Cream in the Morning, powered by Currency.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you on Hail Varsity Radio. Coffee and Cream in the morning. Powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. And on the phone, we promised to get to him, Tim. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to give us a call, 2-888-638-4876. Tim, you're on. What's going on?
Good morning, Damon and Andrew. How are you this morning?
Hi. Fantastic.
Hi, Tim. What's up?
2 things. Well, I guess 3. 1, Creighton sucks. My God, do they suck.
Wow.
2, yeah. Nebraska seemed like they were pretty good this weekend. I saw a lot of social media stuff about refereeing and all that other junk. I've always thought, if you take care of your stuff, the world kind of works itself out. So, like missing the front end of 1-and-1s repeatedly
3 times
isn't good for a final score.
3 times.
Great point.
3 times they missed the front end.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. And then finally, Damon, this is more to you.
Okay.
1, can I give other dudes body wash for a Christmas gift?
Why is this more to DB?
Because yes, I think you should. And
can I get backstory on why he just focused in on you? Did you
go
get body
ahead.
wash at some point?
Because of my personality.
In the past,
he'll tell you.
Whether it's Michael Spear or Sharp or this new kid, nobody seems to have the respect for layering a scent, brushing the teeth in the shower, and going bar of soap followed by body wash.
That's
better
me.
Than my guy Damon Benning does.
That's me.
Okay.
That is me. Hey, so listen though, Tim. Yes, and if you're going to give body wash, I have one for you. I was talking to Coach Wilhite, and
Here we go.
So I gave him a hug the other day, and I was like, "Gosh, Kenny," I said, "You smell great," and he's like, "Hey, player, there's this scent from
Bath and Body Works.
Bath and Body Works.
Yes.
Was it teakwood?
No, because I have that.
No.
Was it leather and brandy?
No, I'm
Was
gonna.
it bourbon?
I'm gonna.
Was it Whiskey River?
Wait, what did you say, Tim?
Is it green?
Oh no, I don't know. He sent it to me, and now I can't find it.
Is it eucalyptus and something?
Stop. It is. It's called. I don't know.
The word aqua.
It's called beautiful.
Water?
It's called Beautiful Day. It's this. Tim, I'm gonna DM it to you.
Day.
That looks like something that was on the ladies section.
Hey, send that to
All
me,
men's
Tim, for
body
Christmas.
products
Send it to me
for
for
$5.
Christmas.
Beautiful
All
day.
men's
That's what it.
body products were $5.
Yep, that's where I was.
I got taste.
Tim, why didn't you hook me up?
Damon, I got you, bud.
Okay.
Send me a mailing address in the DM. I got like 40 different scents.
Hey,
I got a Ford F-150 full of men's hygiene products.
Tim's just
Full
on the
of
black
work
market
in a
selling
head
Bath and
office,
Body Works.
Surrounded by farmers and hockey players. I'm gonna get murdered.
hey. So listen, how is the ag business out there? Is it better than it was here? Because you moved for a pay raise, didn't you?
So I work in a fancy office now, surrounded by stooges, and now I'm one of the stooges.
So
yeah, I make more money, but I'm a sellout.
So do you still get to sit around in like the small towns and talk about like nutrients in the ground and all that kind of stuff, like fertilizers, or do you not get to do that?
That is I make myself do that. There's a lot of folks that get disconnected once they get to a point like this and forget about that kind of stuff. So at least twice a week, I'm hitting Alt, Colorado, or we'll drive up to Greeley and find us a gas station or a co-op and go sit, talk. I don't make any money selling anything anymore, but I sure as hell don't want to forget where I came from.
How's your roommate? Is she better? That would be his wife.
Ever
I
since
figured.
I switched to Bath and Body Works, it seems like she's in a better mood all the time. Maybe we found the problem.
Hey,
Because you probably go every Saturday.
And I know you're you love the Huskers and don't like the Jays. Is this a basketball team like you can? Is this a team like you root for? Because you like winning, and so I know this close stuff isn't like warming your heart at all.
Winning.
Who
doesn't like winning?
Is this
Close if you do it right. I mean, you got to be able to see development, right? Like, did we get better from Creighton to Purdue? I think so.
I think so.
The Indiana game's an anomaly because you're missing a piece.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
So I can root for them, but we've got to develop a little bit more flavor than, hey, turn around back to the hoop, back some little guy in and take advantage of being 4 inches taller than him.
Tim, you're the man, buddy. Be safe out there. I'll send you a message here in a sec.
Later, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Tim is wild. So
do you really use Beautiful Day?
no,
Or-
I just
that
he just sent
that
me.
piece of print looks like he got it off of the ladies section.
No, he brought it with him on the road. So I gave him. So it's like, hey man, what's up? So I brought him in for a hug, and I was like, man, I said, Coach White, I said, you smell good. What is that? Like, I'm not afraid. That's totally my personality. If
what
I
I'm
like
saying is it looks like a female fragrance.
Who cares?
So you want to smell like roses and
It's not roses. It's like it's. I feel like it's testosterone involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe it'll mix with my pheromones. Why?
I'm. You know what? I'm not hating. You can wear whatever you want to wear, DB.
Now, listen,
all I'm saying is,
if
it
you
looks
look
like
at
when the
me-
men's things are on the left and those are on the right, he may have taken a wrong turn.
Are you really on me about that? Like, you're wearing mismatched gear. You are rocking a Blues hoodie. And a
You're gonna get on me.
And a Mississippi State hat in honor of Mike Leach. And
Yeah,
you're talking to me
you're
about
gonna get on me.
about my
You're
drip.
honoring Mike Leach.
You're talking about my masculine drip and your mismatched gear.
You're wearing a Wisconsin pullover.
This is not Wisconsin, and you're gonna have to leave. I mean, like, who does that? Who says that? Like, I can't rock Bath and Body.
that's what I do.
And Drew Down, how about this? What if it like mixes nicely with
Hey, if it does,
Shane? What do you call those
I
things?
am knocking it
Pheromones?
until I try it. I am knocking it. I haven't tried it.
I'm secure. I was like, Coach, man, you smell like a champ. I just saw him. He was here Saturday night.
Does it smell like cologne?
How about how much he likes this place? He stopped in on his way back from St. Louis to Lincoln to stop at HVC.
See, look, I'm connecting the dots. He stopped in back from St. Louis. Appreciate it.
You and the Phoenix Suns, two of the more underachieving franchises this year in terms of sports starts.
Hey,
Enjoy that.
At least we have a championship, though, over the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, Jacob.
Wow.
Our poor Jacob Padilla probably doesn't want to hear that.
And you'll see him here in about 2 hours. Yeah. That's okay.
He'll be driving in.
Shane, tell Jacob to get here early. Drew Down's in here hating on him.
It's going to be Bud Crawford against DA.
Yeah, take Crawford. You do got a Crawford build, though.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm telling you.
Nobody can do that.
Nobody.
No, how crazy, though, is that Mike Leach stuff?
So, am I not supposed to? I always ask, is it not cool to wonder what personal health issues are? Like, why do they drop that in quotes?
It reminds me.
Am I supposed to read into that?
It reminds me of when hockey addresses an injury as lower body. Yeah, or upper body.
What does personal health issues mean? Aren't they all?
Yes. All I know is he was airlifted, and that can't be good.
No, I'm Team Mike Leach. As are you with your Stark Vegas hat on?
Do you like it?
Yeah. You want to land the plane?
College World Series.
Land the plane full circle. Jolie Dunn, the real architect of the 335, who taught Rocky Long, the creator of evolving the 335. So
and
how about that?
Who learned a little bit about the 335?
Who learned?
Yeah, who learned a little bit about that? Was it Tony White?
Tony White?
Yeah,
Tony White's at Nebraska.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Great story. My man, the mayor, it was kind of making its rounds. Did you see the birth of the 335? It had the Syracuse clip, and it was Tony White, and it's probably 24 minutes. Oh, it's a great little tutorial. And my man Joel sent it to me. He's like, "Hey, did you see this yet?" And I was
Did you pass it along to me?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But I told you I'm an odd front. I like this defense. I would like to run some variations of this, especially given the personnel that we have coming back next year at the high school level.
Yeah.
I look right at my kid and be like, "Hey, you're now a nickel will, playing on the weak side, fit in the run game,
strong side,
fit in the run game, and cover number twos." You know,
I'm interested to see how the 335 works.
We went from that was a nice transition though, from Mike Leach. Best wishes, wishing you well, Mississippi State, to Jolie Dunn, who would run the 335.
We're getting there. We're getting somewhere.
We're trying, man. It's like
we're in a snowball, right?
Wow.
And it's just kind of rolling
after you
down
tried
the hill.
to shame me over my
over your fragrance selection.
Teakwood is fire though.
That's what I have in my shower right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Can I just say this and
there
move
was a
on?
new one. Yeah, go ahead.
The lotion dries your skin out. So usually the more aromatic it is of like ingredients, the more alcohol it is, and it dries you out. So you have to be very careful with your cuticles. That is your no toxic masculinity.
Hey, check out birch and eucalyptus next time you're there.
Not a birch guy.
Smell it first.
No.
Really?
Yeah, had the candle. I'm Team Candle. It had birch. Nah.
So you've had this exact scent?
No. But you said birch, and I'm okay. Because I don't want to be closed-minded, I will entertain at least giving it a scent.
What'd you say? Beautiful day. Is that
You're such a hater.
Listen,
I'm
gonna look this up, and we're gonna put it on Twitter. I want to say we're going to see. I mean,
well, he's about to be so mad at me. I'm putting him on blast too.
putting him out there. What it smells like, a floral bouquet on a sweet spring day.
That's not what it smells like.
That's what it says.
That's not what it smells like.
Fragrance notes.
I told you, man.
Daisies, pink peonies, and sun-kissed apples.
Wow.
DB, I'm learning something about you today.
You're not going to shame me, man. I feel good. It's how it mixes with the pheromones. It's all right.
Think Sam McEwen rocks this scent?
Hate on, player.
You think he does?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll ask him when we come back.
I want to know how much feedback Sam got about their selections for all Nebraska teams.
Hey, he joins the show. We'll get that next on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
We are back with you on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. 8 o'clock, the 8 o'clock hour underway, and we kick things off like we do every Monday with our good friend, Sam McKewon. Sam, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thank you.
Sam, good morning, man. How are you?
I'm all right. Taking kid to high school traffic.
Oh, hey,
stuck in traffic.
I dropped her off. You dropped off. We can talk.
It's so, Sam, you get perfect. Anything worse than school traffic as a parent in terms of anxiety? Like, I'll take the interstate and zipper merging every day that ends in Y versus negotiating. Drop your kids off at school traffic. It's crazy.
It is, yeah. Yep, it is. Because you don't really ever know, especially when you get to high school, you're dealing with, 16-year-old drivers, and you're never quite sure what they're going to do. Just now, a kid snuck in a turn in front of me, even though it's like 8 feet away from him. So that's pretty common. Elementary school drop-off can be intriguing as well when you have all the buses and stuff like that. And so it's a different journey at each stage. At this stage, it's head on a swivel. You've got to make sure that you don't hit somebody or get hit. And, then you've got to time your child's departure from the vehicle.
Okay,
don't
go
too quickly. But when the time comes, get out of the car.
Swing open the door, just a barrel roll out.
Sam McKewon.
Kind of like the paratroopers dropping out of the plane. So.
Sam McEwen, editor extraordinaire for all your media needs. Sam, let me ask you something. Was it easier in your head in retrospect to explain Griesel and Nebraska playing in his absence versus Indiana, or Kalkbrenner and his absence against BYU?
The latter. Clearly, I'm sure Sam would have helped Nebraska against Indiana, but that's a tough matchup for Nebraska either way because of the way Indiana plays, and you're on the road. But Kalkbrenner is a big loss for Creighton because you change everything about what you do. Fred King I think is going to be a pretty good player. You're not going to build your offense around him though. And so you change who you are. I think Kalkbrenner's absence is like Derek Walker's absence in Nebraska. So what happened on Saturday night is that Creighton doesn't have that A, rim protector, B, defensive rebounder. They have a great defensive rebounder when Kalkbrenner's on the floor. And C, they don't have that 16 to 18 automatic points every night. So that was a huge loss. And so it's one thing for 1 year next year, and then it changes. And you add USC and UCLA, you get rid of the schedule, the divisional schedule, and you go to some other schedule that they don't know what it is yet. And what you're aiming for, what you might call in football the area that you're aiming for in a block, is going to change. I'm of the belief that the Big Ten West structure and the way that it's set up has actually hurt Nebraska, but it's actually going to adjust a little bit over the course of a couple of years, and Rhule's going to have to adjust with it. So you're going to move away from you're playing 4 games against teams that basically sit on the ball and try to win 16-13 to everybody's going to be chasing Ohio State or USC or Michigan, and that'll change things a little bit. So I think Rhule's going to need some time because the league that he entered is also going to be changing here pretty soon.
Hey, but Sam, hang on.
Go ahead,
Sam. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's I'm done.
Sam, but what about but yes and no, though, right? I mean, Wisconsin's going to change the way that they play offense. You don't hire the way that they did at the OC and try to win 16-13. I don't think Pat Fitzgerald thinks that they can win 16-13. Even as much as Illinois runs the ball, that RPO game with DeVito changes the way that you could play defense. Who knows what Iowa's going to do? I mean, we saw them not give the ball to Caleb Johnson for a full quarter, and granted, they were behind, but they looked like they could throw the ball too if they had to. Now, I'm not saying that's who they turn into, but are we sure that they're going to play 4 or 5 games where they want it to be 16-13 in 2023, 2024?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know exactly what Wisconsin's going to do. I think they hired North Carolina's offensive coordinator, so that means usually what that means is a quarterback run game is going to be an element. You can't throw the ball probably as much in the Big Ten as North Carolina did and get away with that. Quarterback, I just don't think you can. So they'll run it probably more. But yeah, I mean, I think at most there's one more year of this, and then you're going to see some pretty significant adjustments in the way the league is set up. And so I think the reason I say Rule needs 4 years is because you have to take that into account, and then you have to figure out who your quarterback's going to be. If they are pursuing Jeff Sims, and that's kind of an odd story, but it does look like he's coming, he visited or interested, then you're pursuing a dual threat quarterback because that's what Jeff is, and he's a pretty good one. And so you're reintroducing the quarterback run game. That'll take some time. Although you can probably win 1 or 2 more games doing that. That defense will probably take a year. It's not that different from what Nebraska's done the last couple of years, but it's different enough. You have to recruit to it. And so, I just think it would be wise for Husker fans to cool the jets a little bit. Now, people don't want to hear that. They're like, no, we don't want to do that. And we're tired of waiting. But I'll say this, that I think the way Rule wants to do it is a little bit more process-oriented. And the league that he's joining is also process-oriented. And, it's just going to be hard. Now, if you were to talk to my colleague Dirk sometime, and I hope you do, I think he would say, well, there's no reason why it can't happen fast. It happened fast at this place. And I guess I agree to some degree, but I also would say Nebraska's different. It takes longer at Nebraska. The way I described it in the rewind piece was, this is Matt Rule's mulligan, and a mulligan is another tee shot off a tee, and this mulligan he's picking to use his mulligan on a par 5 where there's cross bunkers at 260 yards.
Well, Sam,
and what I'm trying to say there is it's a hard carry because there's a lot to do here just to get it back to a place where people feel good, and he's going to have to do a lot of work in order to get there.
Well, Sam, you talk about turnaround time there, though, and expectation, and I kind of trend more on Dirk's side here when I look at how quickly programs have been able to turn around. We'll just take Illinois, for example, and look at what Bielema did with that program. What expectation, what type of timeline do you think or do you expect Matt Rule to have in order to get this team to that 8-9 win stage?
A couple, 3-4 years.
So you don't think the 2-year mark is I don't want to say possible because I'm sure you could see it happening.
Yeah, you'd have to tell me what their 2024 schedule is, and I don't know. And knowing the Big Ten, I think, I could be wrong, I think Ohio State and Michigan are going to get screwed. And it's about time, by the way. But I think you're going to see Ohio State and Michigan get USC and UCLA off the jump because you want to make some money. And you want Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and you want Ohio State at LA Coliseum. So I don't know if Nebraska will get USC and UCLA out of the box. I don't know if they're going to go with a pod system that automatically means they play UCLA. I don't think they would be drawn. I don't think they'd be paired with USC. I don't know. So you'd have to tell me what the schedule is, 1. 2, Brett Bielema inherited a lot of good football players. Lovie Smith does some things really, really well. And he doesn't know. He never at every stop he was at. And I'm a Bears fan, so I love him. But he never knows what to do with the quarterback. And so that was the problem at Illinois when he was there. But he recruited a lot of really good football players who all were on that defense this year. A lot of them from Florida. And so when Brett got there, he inherited a roster of athletes. And, Lovie Smith is an NFL mind and knows how to, he knows how to identify talent. And so Brett took over a roster that was pretty darn good and ready, And so then he comes in and kind of puts his system in, and then they got a quarterback this year. And that quarterback helped them. And they went 8-4. And so, and there's no guarantee. Here's the other thing. There's no guarantee that Illinois is going to be 8-4 next year. So I think what Matt Rule wants to do is he wants to build a program that can kind of stack seasons on top of themselves. And that means you don't just do it once. You do it 3, 4, 5 times. And that takes time.
Hey,
that takes time.
Sam, if trust is a two-way street, right, I think with Ives committing and people look at the offers, they think, oh, Stony Brook. And, I get it, right, and Ortiz and, they think long snapper. And it's hard to cast or it's hard to embrace the vision if you don't know. And I think trust is a two-way street, right? If Coach Rule wants us to trust him, then he's got to trust kind of us too, I think, to some degree. How does that play out in your head when you're looking at how they need to put a roster together to hit the timeline that you're talking about?
Well, I actually think he'll do a good job of that. He'll have full control of it. He didn't really have that in the NFL per se. I mean, sort of yes and sort of no. He wasn't able to get the quarterback position right, at least while he was there. I know Sam Darnold won yesterday, and Carolina's 5-8. Might even somehow still win its division. But he didn't get that position quite right when he was there, and that wasn't entirely his fault. But he has a lot of that in his control now, and he has a track record of building good rosters. I think you're going to see a roster that has some speed and some length. I think it'll be more flexible and athletic than what Nebraska had these last couple of years when, in my opinion, they were big and they were probably strong in some areas, but maybe not quite as fluid. And so I think Rule will improve that. As far as the Quentin Ives commit, my understanding, and I've talked to people in the coaching search industry, that the running backs coach is seen as a star.
Oh, yeah.
And a rising star.
With you.
So, give him this guy. Like, this is his guy. This is what he wants to, he wants to give this kid a chance. He's a taller, longer back. Maybe you could move him to receiver if it doesn't work out. I kind of put in the little piece, Nebraska's history with taller, longer backs. The best of whom was probably Maurice Washington. And he wasn't here very long. So, we'll see where it ends up with Ives. But, you hire a running backs coach, you need to give him the chance to bring in the guys he wants. And he's, they're doing that. And, I think Matt Rule knows what he's doing there. That part I think is pretty straightforward. And the other thing, and I've watched a lot of, his podcasts or AVCA, he's talked, or AFCA, he's talked a lot. The way that he talks about managing a game, I think, is different from many of his predecessors. And the fact that he really thinks about it. And he has a plan when he goes into a football game. And I maybe I'm being unfair to Scott. I wasn't always entirely sure Scott's plan, which was we're going to take the ball and we're going to score, and then we're just going to, outscore the other team, was always a very good plan. That's always felt like the plan. And I think Rule is a little bit more nuanced and detailed. And I think that the upgrade Nebraska's getting is just in coaching the football game, the how to use timeouts and how to do all that stuff. I think Rule will score very high in the game day coaching area, and we won't be able to see that until they're playing Minnesota and Minneapolis next August.
We're speaking with Sam McKewon, sports editor and Nebraska columnist for the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra. You can toss him a follow at SW McEwen, OWH on Twitter. Get all his stuff. Great work from Sam. Sam, something that I wanted to touch on here before we start winding things down, and I know DB wants to hit you with some prep stuff here in a sec, but aside from football, when we look at women's basketball at Nebraska and what they've been able to accomplish and what Amy Williams has been able to accomplish as a coach, snagging that 200 career Division I win mark as a coach. And I know she won't tell you because her goal is to win national championships. It's not to hit accolades like that. But how special of a group has Nebraska women's basketball been able to put together over her time here at Nebraska?
Well, she's done a really good job of let's start with this. Outside of the program's success, Amy Williams is a really, really good person. And I'm not saying that with faint praise.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And a really good teammate within the athletic department. And these things matter. Like, it's not a small thing. And she could be an AD one day because of the way that she conducts herself and just her high standards. And so she's always treated the athletes really well, and she's always been, very patient with injuries, things like that. So there's that. I think their success level has been, I think she would tell you that she wished they'd made a couple more NCAA tournaments. They're on track to make their third. I think, she had a good team early on, and then there was a thing where she added a bunch of really talented freshmen, but they didn't quite mesh with what was going on with some of the older players, and so there was a couple of years in there. But, I think she's done a really good job and has I think, retooled her roster, was, I think, fortunate to see Alexis Markowski be willing to reopen her recruitment, because that would have been one that got away. And I think to credit to Andy and Alexis that they were willing to look at that, and they did, and so now they have a really, really good player for 2.5 more years, and you can build around her, and you can build around Jazz Shelley. And I don't know if Jazz will be there after this year. Jazz could go pro, so I don't know what she's going to plan on doing, but so long as those two are there, you've got a pretty good basketball team that should go to the NCAA tournament. There's tiers in women's basketball. For people who don't know, I've covered it now for 12 years, so I've learned a lot about women's basketball over that time, college women's basketball. There's tiers. The tier that there's the Connecticut, Stanford, South Carolina tier, which is about 4 teams, and then there's a tier after that, and then there's a tier after that. And Nebraska wants to be in that third tier with the hopes of getting to the second tier. Creighton is in the third tier and wants to get to the second tier. And that's just that's the challenge that Nebraska needs to continue to pursue, is becoming one of the top 20 teams in the country every single year, and then you can bust into that next tier. That top tier is a blue blood tier that's very hard to break into. You have to be Don Staley at South Carolina to break into it. You have to win national championships, multiple national titles to do it, and she's done that. But it takes a lot of work to get into that very top tier, and that's a harder one to breach. But Nebraska can absolutely get into that third or second.
Sam, we're a little up against it. Got about 3 minutes here. I did with the all Nebraska selections, all class selections. I'm just looking, right, and I'm not so much getting into Flores versus Rezac or K-Line or things like that, but with Carter Nelson and Davon Hall and guys trying to get on that first team, and it's not disrespect to them, it's just competitive. When you look at the landscape of high school athletics versus guys with offers and guys in postseason awards, where would you put this stretch in terms of how competitive being good and recognized in high school sports is in the sport of football? It appears to be highly, highly difficult.
It is. It is highly, highly difficult. That's right. I think that we're in a very competitive moment, especially at receiver, especially at tight end, especially at pass catcher, especially at quarterback. Certainly Zane is the deserving first-team quarterback. But there are years where you would have said it was someone else because there's so many good options. So it's very competitive as it relates to the pass game, as it relates to the pass rush game, like rushing the passer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm younger than you, but I remember when you were in high school. The competitiveness of the running back thing isn't what it used to be when you were playing in high school. I mean, back then there was about 11 guys. And there's not that now.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
No,
absolutely
there's
true.
no question.
Yeah, there was about 5 guys within 4 miles of each other.
I mean, you look at a guy like Jerry Swain, and people were like, "Who?" And he was unbelievable. Right. He was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. So I remember all this because we went to a lot of games when I was a kid. Anyway, so that's changed. Like, I don't think you have, that list of players. Much like in high school basketball, and you remember this too, in the 80s and the 90s, you just had this unbelievable run of guards.
Yeah.
And and there was some Terrence Badgetts in there too, but you had all of these like 6 foot to 6'2" to 6'3" guards that went all over the country and played. And I don't know that it's quite that good now in that area in high school basketball, but you now have these 6'7" wings that are, that before would have been forwards and put on a little weight. Now they play out on the wing. Your Jason Greens or Hunter Salas. But, back in the day, there were more Chucky Hepburns than there were Hunter Salases, and now it's kind of reversed. So I think in high school football, there's just a lot of good players at certain spots, but other spots not quite as much. It's really good. It's really strong. We could talk about that all day.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you.
I'll hit you on Twitter.
Thanks, Sam.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Take it or leave it's next.
And Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. I thought our banner was falling off, DB, and it's the light right here in the way of yours.
I don't know. Listen, so I told you I've got a good buddy. Let's just call him French Hat, right?
French Hat.
Good guy, right? He usually coaches me up on what I need to do, like online and stuff. And he didn't say anything today, so I figured I was good. Because you know a lot of things about me. All of this equipment is not what I do. I don't know the first thing about it.
I mean, it's not my forte either. You look at the ground here, and you see cables plugged into power strips that, when I say power strips, they're XLR power strips, and they're not your normal one.
Although I will say this setup is extremely clean for what I've seen with some other.
The desk is my favorite.
Yeah,
the desk is sick.
I'm mad at Chris this morning, so I don't want to give him any credit, but he did do a fantastic job with this desk. Like the whole setup.
It's just fun being at Hail Varsity Club.
Well, and it was packed the other night. I just wanted something to eat quickly because there's a lot going on, and I was like, good food, quality, because that's key with me. Quality food, kind of fast. It's right around the corner from my house.
For a reasonable price.
Man, it was packed, and I shuddered because this back room where our studio is built was full, so I just kind of moseyed on back here. I looked at the equipment, and I was like, don't touch the merchandise. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that at all, but a couple people wanted to see how the magic was made, and I told one of the guys, he goes, this is where you guys, he goes, this is where you guys are, and I was like, yeah, man. I said this thing was like built like from scratch, right? Because Hail Varsity has never done radio, and so the radio portion of it and they can't believe Shane. He called it Snoop. He's like, this is like Snoopy's doghouse. I was like, okay.
It looks like my niece's playhouse.
So it's like
without all the equipment.
Well, where's Woodstock? Or is it Woodchuck?
It's Woodstock. You got it right.
It's Woodstock? Okay.
Did he say Woodchuck?
He said Woodchuck, and then I think did you say like shock? Woodchuck?
I said, where's Woodstock at?
Okay.
No.
But then I was like, you looked at me like funny.
That's
so
your little.
Well, because I was looking for the little yellow bird back there.
Yeah.
And they made like him a character without him ever talking. Kind of like the teachers in the classroom with Charlie Brown.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's kind of what you want to give that Chris Beard report, isn't it?
Yes.
Wah, wah,
man.
wah, wah.
If you didn't see it, Chris Beard, what was it, like 10 minutes ago?
10 minutes
20 minutes ago now, was arrested and charged with assault on a family member. Early Monday, Austin police confirmed, and after learning more, it had something to do with strangulation.
Yeah.
This is via Tony Plohetsky Forgive me if I
it's
mispronounce
making its
that.
rounds around social media. That's why I always, the whole publicity, good publicity kind of thing, and I'm like, I've never really.
I know. Some people disagree with me on that.
I've never subscribed to that, and it's okay.
I don't know if people are going to stop watching Texas basketball, though.
So, and speaking of which, the folks in Texas Tech who have the affinity for Mike Leach, who is not Mississippi State, are wondering about what's going on with Coach Leach. Chris Beard is in the news, and you say all that to simply say, man, stay in the moment. Right? It's so hard to do. I get it, right? I've been there to some degree, but wow, you just never know, and don't take anything for granted.
It is time to completely change gears, DB.
Oh.
Because you know why?
Because we don't have enough sports to do.
We don't have enough
NFL
sports.
And
nope.
Come on.
Nope. No sports at all. I don't think anything happened over the weekend.
Selfish.
But no, I want to have some fun. This show, not only is it about informing.
Thank you.
Not only is it about entertainment, but it's also about having fun.
Okay.
And for us to have some fun. And for Shane to have some fun, because people love hearing Shane's voice. Shane, you know what Mondays are for, right?
Oh,
right, Shane?
Man.
Hello? McFly? Bueller?
I know what Mondays are for.
Anyone? Bueller.
Mondays are for Monday Night Football.
Bueller.
Would you take it or leave it?
Bueller.
No, Mondays are for coffee and cream in the morning. I'm leaving it.
Bueller.
Anyone? Bueller.
Anyone? All right, you want to do take it or leave it?
Let's play take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Creighton gets back on track against Arizona State.
Ooh.
Kalkbrenner playing?
I assume so.
Then I'm taking it.
Oh, and Kalkbrenner, my little friend Andrew Rogers trusts. What's the line?
It was 3.5 when I checked it last.
Is that all? Man, it is 3.5. Geez, you're a degenerate.
I'm all over it.
Take it or leave it. Creighton gets back on track. I will. I'll
be honest.
I'll leave it. I don't think they do.
Not tonight?
Not tonight.
Hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I think they need some time to get back here.
Speaking of Vegas, if you were there, would you be at the casino every night?
No. I just was there. There's only one thing that I like to do at the casino, and that's play poker. So if you're not having like a table game, like I don't do the blackjack, I don't do any of the high risk, lose your money in like 5 seconds kind of thing.
Which, speaking of,
I like the slow
I stopped
burn.
by the Ameristar over the weekend.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in 15 minutes at the blackjack table that lost $1,500.
Yeah, see, that's not for me. That's why you get all those points, right? And it's too many people for me. Like, I'm not in control of my surroundings, so it's a little much for me. So, no. I'd be in a nice restaurant, though. Seriously.
Vegas is nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even the chains like TK.
If you don't love it, leave it or take it. Amy Williams will reach 300 D1 wins by 2028.
Did you say if you don't love it,
leave it
or take it?
Was that Stanley?
Yeah.
Iowa? If you don't love it, leave it.
USA #1.
2028 is
So that's
5 years, which means
Great
she's got to
math.
go 20 wins per year, excluding this year. So if you count this year and she gets, let's say, 6 more, it's about 19 and some change. Can she get to 300 wins? Yes. I'm going to take it. I will say she can average 19 wins over the next 5 years.
I can't imagine a team of hers is going to decline quickly. You know, at least for me, when I look at the best teams in college basketball, the recruiting is always there. The level of basketball is always there. Once you get there, and A.B. Williams has gotten there.
Yeah.
So I think it's not only just steadying out at 19, 20 wins,
19
but it's still
times
going
5
up.
is 95, right? So, yeah, because she'll finish this year with like 208, 209.
I would say yes,
208.
too, to 2028. If you told me 2027,
yeah,
that's a little much for me.
I'll take Coach Williams.
Can that happen anytime during 2028? Like towards the end?
It could happen
Why
by
towards
year's
the
end.
By the way, congratulations to Kennedy Williams, who's double dipping in basketball and softball as she says yes to Nebraska.
She's got athlete in her blood.
She's so good. I watched Southwest play Miller North and girls the other day, and they're definitely missing her in the backcourt.
Take it or leave it. Christmas Day NBA is better than Christmas Day football.
Oh, I'm leaving that. That's easy for me.
Given what it is and the stage of the matchups, I'm going to take it.
You're going to take that?
No way.
I only get 2 football games. I get 4.
Isn't it 3? I thought it was 3.
We are up to 3 the last couple of years, right? Are we up to 3?
I thought it was 3 this year.
Are we fair and balanced here?
I don't know. I could be assuming.
Are we a Fox station?
Wow. That is not right.
I'm going to probably take it.
I'm leaving it. As you know, not an NBA guy.
That's
I'll
unfortunate.
watch it when it's in the playoffs. But man, if I'm watching the NBA, you know what? I'll tell you this: if I'm betting on the NBA on Christmas Day, I'll be watching.
Wow, I'll take. It's close, but I'll take it.
Really? Yeah, I think a lot of people would disagree with you.
Probably.
Take it or leave it.
That's because it's popular to hate on the NBA.
Take it or leave it. Christmas shopping in person is better than Christmas shopping online.
Absolutely
leave it.
Leaving it.
Leave it. I was just there. Leave it.
There's.
However, there is some type of nostalgia to being there in the Christmas rush.
For who?
I don't know. For me.
Like my man Jay Foreman once said, a brother can't even get his bread without
I'll tell you
people
what,
asking
though.
him what's going on.
It's so much easier to sit at home, watch sports.
I am a little worried about like sizes though, and I'm a little paranoid, especially with ordering like shoes and stuff.
But do you really try shirts on in the store anymore? Because I don't.
Nah, good point. Leave it.
Arthur Arkish is next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes.
Miles Sanders, touchdown. A play action fake. They're going to throw it. Another pass. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes.
Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Sanders stays in. This time, he breaks away at the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Miles Sanders, touchdown. A play action fake. They're going to throw it. Now the pass is intercepted off the tip. Willie Gay Jr., 30-yard line, 20-yard line, 10-yard line, 5-yard line. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Back with you, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio. As we wrap this thing up, we're talking with Arthur Arkish, executive editor of Pro Football Weekly. Arthur, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hello. Hey, Arthur. Good morning. How are you?
Did I give him his dad's title?
No. Did you?
Did I?
Hey, two
Good morning, fellas. I'm doing great. It's great to be on with you. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, we just had two clips as we entered in or back into the show. The first one was a Philly highlight. The second one was a Chief highlight. Do you think Shane, our producer, picked right? Are those the two best teams in the NFL?
Yeah, I do think so. I think that's fair to say. Two best teams, two leading MVP candidates. The difference, of course, is one is a really bad team in two phases, if not all three, in the Eagles. Jalen Hurts having an awesome season, the most improved quarterback in the league easily since Josh Allen, and just an incredible supporting cast really everywhere you look. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they get rid of the best wide receiver in football and don't flinch on offense. I think that's why you're going to hear, surprising as it may sound, a lot of people still have Patrick Mahomes ahead of Jalen Hurts in the MVP race. But not as balanced of a team as we saw yesterday, a team that's too reliant on its quarterback. And whenever he shows mortality, which is rare but does happen, obviously yesterday with the 3 picks, they can't always compensate for that.
Arthur, it's interesting, and maybe I'm trying to speak it into existence because I want it to happen. But for about 4 weeks, I've been telling my partner, hey, look out for the Chargers. Staley aside, if they ever get healthy, I like the Chargers. Is this just one of those franchises that's just not going to get over the hump? There's just something about it, or do you kind of like the Chargers once they do get healthy, Staley aside? Can I say that, or do I have to take the coach with it?
Yeah, hard to separate those two. But look, Staley has his moments. You to see him, he obviously made a name for himself last year with the aggressiveness. It worked more often than not. This year it's backfired. It's looked like he's trusting his intuition more than the analytics. So Staley has been imperfect, no question. But I'll tell you, they've got darn close to a perfect young quarterback in Justin Herbert. He was just awesome last night.
Unbelievable.
In a win that felt like, guys, maybe if the Chargers are going to turn a corner, maybe it's here. Now, of course, just a couple weeks ago, we saw Staley with the bold 2-point conversion to win and maybe save their season, and then they take a step back last week. So it's classic Chargers, but I think you might be onto something. They're on the cusp of getting Joey Bosa back. Obviously, they survived against one of the more dangerous offenses in football without him, without Derwin James, without so many others last night, Bryce Callahan. The list just goes on with all the injuries they've been dealt. But certainly a couple returns last night, and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams give that offense a different look. And I think with that quarterback, with those two weapons, and they've got more too, obviously, in Austin Eckler and some other guys on the inside as well. That I think that would be a team that I would be fearing as a 7 in the AFC for sure.
In the same vein, what's your level of concern for the Miami Dolphins?
It's real. It's Tua has not played well in back-to-back weeks now, obviously. They got to go to Buffalo now. Obviously, they won earlier in the season, but they go out in the elements Saturday night. A big deal was made of actually the Chargers had the heated benches yesterday at SoFi. So we'll see if they're up for that kind of challenge. There's a different level of physicality, I think, for sure. Above and beyond, of course, having to go play outside in December when you play this Bills team. So I really like Mike McDaniel. I like what Tua's done this year. But now you got Tyreek Hill hobbled. The defense, I think, showing a few chinks in the armor. So, yes, I do think there is reason to be concerned with the Dolphins, especially as the Bills look like maybe they're getting back on track too. And obviously that conference, we'll see, that division, we'll see what the Patriots do tonight, but pretty solid top to bottom.
We're speaking with Arthur Arkish of Pro Football Weekly. You can give him a follow at Arthur Arkish on Twitter. Arthur, transitioning to the NFC, also in the same light as the conversation of the Dolphins, but maybe not as extreme. You take a look at the Buccaneers. What's your level of concern with them, and is there a team in the NFC South that can really overtake Tom Brady?
Oh, boy. Between the NFC South and the AFC South, I don't know what to make of either division, but obviously the Panthers are the team everyone's talking about coming out of Week 14. As far as the Bucs are concerned, I think my biggest concern isn't Tom Brady. It isn't the lack of synergy suddenly with Mike Evans or the run game that's been non-existent for the better part of the season. To see a Todd Bowles defense just get eviscerated the way it did yesterday by Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy, a defense that had been playing pretty well, guys. I think top 5 in fewest points allowed, had been getting a little bit healthier. And like I said, just had the MO with Todd Bowles of being a scheme that should really just fluster a young quarterback obviously more than we saw yesterday. I do think it's concerning. I think that there's been a major drop-off, and I really do like Todd Bowles, but it's hard not to think that Bruce Arians hasn't been missed this season. I think that offense is it's looked rudderless at times under Byron Leftwich. You kind of wonder who's really calling things sometimes. So, I do think it's concerning. But like I said, that division, there's no one that's coming to run away, obviously. And when you just look at pedigree, and all due respect to Steve Wilks and Sam Darnold and everything that Carolina did and has done now over the past month, I'm still not sure it's going to be enough to, kind of unseat the giant, if you will.
All right, full disclosure, this question has the backdrop of me saying last week, this was before this week's results, I said I take the Niners, Eagles, Dallas, then Minnesota in that order going forward. Now, obviously, that was before Garoppolo got hurt last week, but I still like the Niners better than the Eagles, primarily because of defense, and that's in spite of Hurts. It's primarily because I think Shanahan is greater than Sirianni. Am I crazy, or could we have that discussion?
No, I mean, we could certainly have the discussion. I don't know you well enough to say if you're crazy, but not I just wish we had this interview a couple hours later in the morning because, guys, I think the Deebo Samuel situation
it's big.
It's looming very large over the 49ers outlook right now. What Brock Purdy did yesterday was awesome. Obviously, he did some of it without Deebo, but the vision here in trading for Christian McCaffrey obviously is having these conflict weapons, the guys that create so much conflict when they're on the field together. So we got to wait and see. It sounds like he did avoid any structural damage. The report's suggesting it's likely a high ankle sprain. That would be a best-case scenario when you saw what a scary look that was on the field for them yesterday. So we'll see, but I do need to wait and see what's up with Deebo. And then I just would also say I think Nick Sirianni's done a pretty darn good job. And when you put their records side by side, obviously Shanahan's been doing it a lot longer, but Sirianni acquits himself pretty well. So, and that's arguably an even more balanced team. Actually, I don't even think
you could make the case those are the two deepest rosters in the NFC.
I think you're right on there. I would not argue with that point. I just think we need to see more of Brock Purdy before you can kind of put him right up there next to. And I know you're not putting the quarterbacks next to each other; you're putting the rosters next to each other. But we all know it's a quarterback-driven league. So And I really do. I just think the way that they've surrounded Jalen Hurts with those receivers, with that offensive line, they still might get a slight edge for me. But there's plenty of intrigue. There's no question for the Niners coming off that historic start from Purdy.
Real fast here before we let you go, Arthur. You mentioned Jalen Hurts. Is he somebody that could win the MVP this year, or do you still think it's Patrick Mahomes to lose?
I do think it's Mahomes is to lose, but I also think they're neck and neck right now. I don't know if Mahomes can afford another slip up like we saw yesterday. And I would have no problem with either one of these guys winning the award. They've both been just awesome, really playing at a historic clip. But when you look at all the advanced metrics from EPA to success rate and overall offense and what the Chiefs have done after getting rid of Tyreek and some of the other absences they have endured, I think I give them the slight edge. Because remember, it's the most valuable award. And if you take Mahomes off the Chiefs, who knows where the heck they are. And if you take Hurts off the Eagles, they're going to take a step back, but I can't imagine it would be as big of one.
Fantastic, Arthur. Man.
Great point.
Good. I appreciate you joining us. And anytime we get a chance to get you, I hope we can. Wishing your dad all the best.
Oh, thanks so much. It's my pleasure. And give a call anytime, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. You too.
I love it. Hey, and if you need tickets to go see those Chiefs, Red Zone Ticket Express, they are here for you. Red Zone Tickets buys and sells all types of tickets to events. That's Morgan Wallen, NCAA volleyball. That Final Four is in Omaha. You've got Creighton. You've got Nebraska basketball. You've got Mannheim Steamroller. The hockey scene, the Mavs need you after a little bit of a shaky weekend. All that and more. NFL, we got you covered. Chiefs, Vikings, Dallas Cowboys. Red Zone Tickets has a wide variety of NFL tickets at many price points. Red Zone Tickets is located right here in Omaha and is reliable. It's local and much better than my grades and yours put together. An A-plus better business rating, Drew Down. Visit RedZoneTickets.com today. That's RedZoneTickets.com.
Man, I wish we could have gotten into it more, too, because you mentioned shaky weekend. It was something similar like I saw last year when Omaha took on Colorado College, and they were at the bottom end of the conference. And, man, did they hand the Mavs 2 losses this weekend? And it was like the same thing. You can't
killed
split
our buzz.
With that team. Yeah.
Can you just give me one, though? Can you just give me a make some noise?
Yeah. Make some noise. Because coffee and cream's over. But, hey, we'll see you again tomorrow. And if you want to catch anything else, go to the podcast. That's Morning Dump, Benning Bites, and the Sports Six Pack in the afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.